Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
If we had to pinpoint the moment that marketing loyalty was really invented, it would be thanks to this guy, Field Marshal Lord Horatio Kitchener, the original "We Want You." Why is he the founder of loyalty? Well, he was tasked with recruiting people for World War I and getting people there in droves, and came up with some very clever ways to do it. He had approaches such as sign up with your mates, and together you and your mates can go and see the world. He also invented the Order of the White Feather, inspiring thousands of beautiful young women to walk around handing out white feathers representing cowardice to anyone who looked like they should be in uniform but weren't. Thanks to this guy, we know more about how to inspire loyalty from people than ever before. It's built up over nearly 100 years. Let's get into it today. We're looking at how to inspire lifelong loyalty for your brand. Maybe not so much from a military perspective, but we do have Ashton Bishop, CEO of Step Change, in the studio today, one of Australia's top marketing strategists, looking at how exactly do we create that. Ashton, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, Adam.
So Ashton works for a company called Step Change, a company he founded several years ago, working with more than 100 clients each year on how to help their challenger businesses outsmart their competitors. Today we're looking at how to inspire lifelong loyalty for your brand, and the ultimate goal here, Ashton, is how do we create fans that are going to be loyal but also talk about you in a compelling way. Many of the businesses we get to work with say, don't need marketing, just need word of mouth.
Yeah.
So today we'll look at how we can drive word of mouth as well as getting customers to buy again. So 3 things that we'll be covering today. The first one, what actually drives loyalty, how to measure loyalty, and if you can measure it, you can manage it, which is good. And the third thing is some quick wins for actually winning loyalty. So Ashton, let's start with why loyalty matters.
So 147, that's not the time, Adam. That's the ratio that gets attention focused on loyalty. Now, it is a ratio that says if it costs $1 to keep an existing customer, it then costs $4 to cross-sell them.
Okay.
And relatively, it costs $7 to acquire a new customer. Now, as a ratio, what's the starting point? Well, BRW reckon it's anywhere as much as, I think, $543 cost of acquiring a customer in Australia.
Right, so getting a customer to find out about you, be interested enough, take the step, go to your shop, go to your website, pick up the phone and actually buy for you, on average, it's more than $500.
Absolutely, and that means as a distribution, we've got a lot of people selling cheap things. For expensive things, for professional services, it's thousands and sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. So the question is, where are most of the attention, where are most of the dollars spent? Unfortunately, they're spent in the 7. Why? Because marketing agencies and media consultancies, they want to win awards, they want to win commissions off spending on media, so they forget the value of focusing in on their existing customers and the real value of attending to those customers that last.
So Ash, you are a bit of a marketing maverick when most agencies are focusing on this end of the spectrum, trying to find new customers in the first place. So what you're actually saying is the smart money is actually spending it on your own customers.
Yeah, there's a lot of smart money there, and in fact, they've done studies of like S&P, Standards & Poor 500s versus S&P 100 type companies.
So the world's 500 biggest company versus the world's 100 biggest companies.
Yeah, so the most successful companies, top 500, the top 100 out of that, and they distinguished the spend and attention that distinguishes the completely outstanding from just the outstanding. And they found out that the sort of the top 500 were spending about 8% of their total advertising, marketing, promotions budget just on rewarding and acknowledging those existing customers.
Right.
The top 100, 32%, 4 times as much. Okay. So empirical data and evidence once again confirms that the smart money goes to first up shoring up, rewarding and acknowledging those loyal customers.
Sure, okay. So if you've already won a customer though, Ash, why does their lifetime value actually matter? Why should we keep spending on keeping the customers rather than looking for a new one?
Well, most businesses don't actually ever get these two numbers clear. So when we look at the customer lifetime value, it's a calculation of there going, how much do customers spend? How often do they spend it? from how long are they likely to stay as a customer.
Right. So if someone wanted to calculate this for their own business, they could have a look at what's their average sale value, how many times do a customer buy each year, and how many years do they stay as a customer for. So you can work out pretty clearly what a customer's worth to you in the long run.
Yeah, so that gives you an average value amount for a customer. Now, if you can consistently hold and keep those customers, you can then figure out the customer lifetime value to the business value of that versus the cost of acquisition.
Okay, so how do we calculate a cost of acquisition?
Cost of acquisition is very simple. It's looking at all the direct spends and amortization of the overhead costs of cost of acquiring a customer. That gives you.
So that includes things like the amount of time people spend talking to new customers, attending networking events, cold calling.
Absolutely. So it's having a very clear idea of all the marketing costs that you have, plus the direct cost attributable to a particular customer, to see the true cost of acquiring a customer. Because often we don't want to see just how much it costs to acquire a customer. That's how businesses scream out of businesses. They don't understand these two numbers and the opportunity to work between them. So if I know that their customer lifetime value is going to be $10,000, and I know that I can acquire a customer for $100, then I'll just keep acquiring customers at that rate. So it's very important to know the difference between the two and then work my marketing solutions between those two numbers.
Okay. And we find, Ashton, that most people haven't actually calculated their customer lifetime value, and they don't truly understand what it'd be worth if an average customer stays with them for 4 years, getting them to 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. Winning that loyalty can actually be incredibly lucrative for a business.
Oh, incredibly. The ROI that happens by keeping an existing customer is basically unmatched in the acquisition space.
Right. So with the value that we were able to uncover in keeping clients, extending them for longer, turning them also into referrers, where do businesses get stuck? There's essentially these 3 loyalty challenges that come up. So what are the problems that businesses face in winning loyalty?
So the 3 challenges that we have are: most businesses don't understand the way customer journeys work.
Okay.
They don't understand the way as humans we experience those. So there they make wrong decisions of where to invest. They then might have happy customers, but they don't ever become referring customers. There's a few just simple things that people forget to do in that regard. And that's really about identifying when's the right time to ask, how are you going to incentivize, reward, or acknowledge that? And then what do you want people to say? So they're the elements around that.
So 3 things going wrong here. So actually winning loyalty, winning a customer over with what you call a lightning strike moment, which we'll jump into in just a second. Once you have won their loyalty, making sure that they're actually going to refer, and making sure they know what to say when it happens.
Yep.
Great. So let's unpack each of these as we go through. Let's start with what people actually remember. And you've used this term lightning strike moments. What's that all about?
So it comes back to a misunderstanding of how we experience things as humans.
Okay.
So if I asked you, how long would you like to tell your life story? I think we've only got...
Jeez, 2 minutes is enough. Not that much happens.
So 2 minutes. So assuming you're more than 2 minutes old, and in fact you're several years old, how does that make sense? Because the amount of time you'd need to tell your life story should be
as many years as I am old.
As many years as you are old. See, there's something that's called, and it's distinguished by Kahneman and Tversky, the behavioural economists. They say that as humans we have a massive duration neglect.
Okay.
All our experiences are compressed in our minds, and that we don't remember blow by blow, minute by minute. Our duration is something that we don't notice. So everything gets compressed. And if we want to know what an experience was like, we don't add up every single moment. We add up what we call the peak moment and the end moment and the average of that.
Right. So when we're telling a life story, it's not here's everything that happened, every breakfast, every lunch, every bus trip along the way. What we end up with is, geez, what's top of mind from the last week right now, and what were the real highs or lows. So let's talk through what's a peak moment? What's that all about?
So a peak moment can either be something very good or something very bad.
Okay.
Often the bad are experienced far greater, so relatively peak moments at the top need to be really standout moments.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that brands get wrong around that is they don't understand that they try and get every single piece of the customer journey to be good. That's the wrong way to think of it. What we need to do is, first of all, eliminate bad moments. Or if there are multiple bad moments, we want them to be in one bad moment.
Okay, what do you mean by a bad moment, Ash? What's an example
So
of
a
that?
negative experience might be, I need to queue. I need to fill in these forms. Maybe I'm handing over a lot of money or credit card details. They're all potentially negative moments in a customer journey. What we want to do around that is understand this duration neglect and not have multiple negative moments. We want to group negative moments together. We want to separate positive moments.
Okay.
But we want to make sure the intensity of the positive moment is far greater and not just good. So if we had the choice of 3 goods, so if this is average, this is good, and this is outstanding, most businesses go, I'll take the 3 goods. You're much better to have the one outstanding. Will get you a far better return in a customer journey experience.
Okay, so peak moments really matter, and the intensity of that experience really matters. And you're saying it doesn't matter how long it actually takes. Now, a bit of research around this actually comes from the world of colonoscopies,
Yeah,
Ash.
so it wasn't personal research from me. This is once again Kahneman and Tversky, looking at the difference between we could have a short event that was particularly unpleasant.
Right, so colonoscopies are going to be unpleasant no matter which way you look at it. I guess we can't exactly have a peak highlight in there without getting R-rated very quickly.
Yeah. So the colonoscopies had basically 2 ways to do the procedure. One was very unpleasant, where you were in and out very fast.
So essentially ripping the Band-Aid off type experience.
A ripping the Band-Aid off type experience. But you were left at the end of, oh, that was unpleasant, and then thank you and good night.
Big sting.
Yeah. The other way was actually took much longer, but there was an ease off at the end where the peak intensity wasn't as great and the end point was not as bad. So you actually, the way a customer experience is remembered of peak versus end averaged, the peak was obviously negative, people would opt for the longer procedure that was less intense rather than the shorter procedure that was more unpleasant.
Interesting. So for those of you with a Band-Aid to rip off, the lesson here is do it slowly and ease off right at the very end rather than the rip off right at the end. So what that means then is for these painful experiences as well, if we can start to even them out, do it slowly and make sure the end is as unpainful as possible, you're able to reduce the element of it. Conversely, when we're looking at the highlight moments, we go back to those moments which you started to call lightning strikes. Tell us a little bit about what those are.
So the lightning strikes are what we call the remarkable moments. So Seth Godin talks about remarkability as something worth remarking on.
So it's the literal interpretation of the word. If something's remarkable, someone will go and say, hey, you wouldn't believe what this guy just did.
Absolutely. So Seth Godin talks about the purple cow, is that we're all driving along and, oh, there's a cow, there's a cow. Hey, there's a purple cow. So that's worth remarking on. So the remarkability of a moment. And that's a real test when we look across any customer journey. We say, here's the expectation of a customer here. A lightning strike will far exceed that. So most people expect when they turn up somewhere, they might be offered a glass of water. A lightning strike moment might be, we found out what coffee you wanted from last time, or maybe got it off your Facebook profile. We had that coffee there for you, exactly how you liked it, ready on your arrival.
Name on the coffee cup.
That's a lightning strike moment.
Right. So the opportunity here is, instead of trying to make every moment as exceptional as possible, 1, get rid of the dull moments, get rid of the painful moments, and then 2, have a couple of lightning strike moments that people can actually remember and actually talk about to others. Great, let's get into that. There's actually some principles, Ash, that you've uncovered here that really drive loyalty. When looking to craft a lightning strike moment, there's essentially...
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.